Hey guys, Splooge McDuck here. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a tutorial, a bit of a look into my creative process with a speed paint. So I decided to do Gadget from Chippendale Rescue Rangers, one of my favorite shows as a kid. And naturally, when I thought of Gadget, I thought, if I'm going to draw her, I'm going to have to give her large, heaving rodent breasts. So give her large rodent breasts I did. I'm going to start with colored construction lines. You don't have to use colored, it's preference, but I like to do color. I like purple, orange, and blue the most, if you were curious. And these construction lines are really scratchy, and that's because your brain's going to fill in the lines it likes. However, those scratchy lines don't look professional, so I like to go over them again later and do final lines. So these construction lines I usually do in 3 phases. Right now I'm on phase 1, and that's just figuring out what kind of pose I want. As you can see there, I actually changed the leg. You don't have to be married to your construction lines, you can change them up as much as you like, and your final drawing might not look anything like the construction lines, and that's okay. Some people just get so hung up on their lines that they stick with them and it doesn't come out looking good. And as you can see, a couple of things like the ears change in all 3 iterations. With these lines, on my second go through, I use a darker color to differentiate it from the first. I'm using a dark purple here. With these lines, I try to be a little more precise, but they're still a little scratchy, and I like to use a pencil for my tool. Kind of gives you that sketchbook feel when you're in the stage of it. And here I'm fixing up some anatomy errors I see, and just getting things cleaned up. Now on my third take, these are going to be my final lines. You'll notice I'm not using black. I'm actually using a dark purple, and the reason for this is because when you use black in a piece, I feel like it really muddies it up. Especially in traditional art. You can get away with using black more in digital art, but even in digital art, I don't like to use it too much. It's one of the first things that your eye's going to look at is those pure blacks. So I try to avoid it unless I really want something to pop. Like I'll use pure black on things like eyelashes, because a lot of the time I want people to look at the eyes of my drawings. Most of the time if I have to use a black, I use a dark brown or a dark green or some other dark color. In this case, I decided to do purple, and I'm actually doing a fairly light purple for final lines. You'll see why later. I think I really like how it comes out. I really like the effect that it gives. So with these final lines, you'll see I'm still changing a few things from my construction lines. Fixing up a few more anatomy errors, adding some more detail like zippers and such. These lines, you want to go fast when you're doing your final lines. It's because your hand shakes a lot. And the slower you go, the more time you give your hand to shake. If you just speed through these, I mean obviously be careful, but when you do each individual line, just swipe, go fast with it. It makes your lines look confident, it makes your lines look professional, and once you get a sense for it, it even feels kind of cathartic to go over some rough line art and just really clean it up. I wanted the line art to be a focus of this piece because the original cartoon was a line art cartoon. So I wanted it to be really clean. I spent half the time drawing just on getting the line art how I wanted it to be. The other half was spent on shading and coloring. Really, I wanted to focus on line art. I decided to give her boots because I don't know what the hell her feet are. They might just be like little mouse feet. In which case, with my style being a little more realistic than the cartoons, I think it might look weird. So I gave her little like work boots, aka some Timbs where my New Yorker's at. And I fixed up another little mistake. Her hip was too wide on her back leg. So now I'm going to move into color. What you see me doing here is called Colorize Tool in Krita. It might be called something else if it exists in other programs. And it's basically like the fill tool, but it's smart. You tell it where to color, you tell it where not to color, and it knows to ignore gaps and other stuff like that. So you just take some time making sure your colors are all in the right space, and the program does the rest. I like this because it saves a lot of time for shading. I want to spend more time shading than I am coloring. Because if I have a palette already picked out, like I do with Gadget, then most of my creativity is going to be in what colors I use to shade. So I use a little bit of brown for the shading here on her bust because there's brown, red, and purple, and even a little green in the skin. So like I said earlier, I don't like to use pure black. So I used a little brown, purple, and red, and I like the effect that it had on the skin there. And for the rest of just about everything else, I'm going to be using straight purple. I want to do this because it makes the whole thing homogeneous, and purple is just a good color, I feel, for skin tones, because the body naturally contains red and blue colors. With my shading, This is where I spend the other big part of my time, and I really want this image to have a bit of a three-dimensionality, but I want the shading to still be kind of cartoony, kind of stylized. Some of these shadows, if she were real, would be a lot darker, like under her neck, for example. But I kind of decided to go with some lighter shadows because I wanted a more of like a vivid, dreamlike kind of look. Now, when I'm highlighting, you'll notice that I'm not using white. And that's because using white, it's just like black. It can dull your image up, and it's the first thing your eyes see. So if there's a lot of white, you kind of don't know where to look. So I like to use white sparingly, places like the eyes, teeth, and that place, so that those are going to be the places people look. I also put just a little bit on her fingernails later on, because those are going to be glossy, but I don't want to really bring too much attention to those, because in this image, I think probably the weakest parts are the hands. But with the time limit that I had, I really didn't have time to go over and redo them. I might actually touch this piece up later and maybe do an even more detailed version, because I really like the way it turned out and I think it's really cute. I do a couple of darker brown lines to add some more form to her hands, and then I add some flush to her skin to make her look more embarrassed, because if your top burst open like that during a space mission or whatever the heck she's up to, it wouldn't be very fun. Now, for backgrounds, I didn't have time to do a background because I did have a time limit. So I just threw some shapes in the back and a gradient, and I think it looks really nice. It gives the image this kind of like 7-Eleven 90s aesthetic, and I think that it complements her very well. So since she had a purple jumpsuit, one of the big things in the back is green, because those are opposites on the color wheel, contrasting colors. Contrasting colors is something that really makes images pop, really makes them like come out at you. So those are some of the tips and thoughts I had during the gadget drawing. I really hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you learned something. If you did or didn't, leave some comments below on how I can improve in both my art and my videos and commentary. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and share. Thank you so much, folks. Have a good one. Bye-bye.